y'all. Happy 2018 and welcome to Tea Session number 3 with me, the author of Wisdom by 30, Miss Sharon Denise Lewis, also known as Shay. I am so happy to be out of 2017. It is a blessing to be on this side of glory because 2017 was one of those years where it was like, but did you die though? And I didn't, so I'm still here. So praise the Lord for 2018. I hope your new year is starting off just the way you expected it. I hope that you're accomplishing goals and getting things done and moving in the right direction. But as always, we are going to get into the questions that we have. Of course, we have 3 questions every week. All of the questions are sent in by readers and some non-readers about relationships, questions that they have for me. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So the first question, it is, what made you date bad boys when you were raised not to? So this question is interesting because if you know me personally, grew up with me, or been around me for a while, you probably met my mom. So my mom is a force to be reckoned with. She is 5'2", maybe 5'4". I give her 5'4". And she is completely aggressive. So I grew up in a single parent home, and my mom did not play with us. She did not play with us at all. And when I first moved to Atlanta, even though she was all the way in New Orleans, I would see flashes of her in the corner of my apartment. So that's how much fear of God that she put in me. So this is a good question. What made me date bad boys, so to speak, was it was a phase. It was like I had some knowledge of bad boys because of where I'm from and the neighborhood we were in, but my mom did a great job of keeping us away from it. We had friends who were into doing bad things or whatever, and just, always into mischief, but we still remain cool with them, but remain cool enough that not to get in trouble with them. So when I had the opportunity, to make the choice, I chose the bad boy. It's I honestly can't give you like a for real reason. Like, I can't even say that I woke up one day and was like, I'm gonna date a bad boy. No, that it wasn't anything like that. It wasn't my norm, basically, in short. I had no major desire to date a bad boy at all, but when the opportunity presented itself, I'm like, how bad could it be? And so when I did date the first bad boy, which is in chapter 2, it was kind of a culture shock to me, because of the lifestyle that he lived and everything. But I also, and this is going to sound really, really corny, and it's going to sound really, really selfish, but I enjoyed the money. I was fresh. I was new here to Atlanta. I had no family. I'm the only one here. And I was working at Burger King. I was making $5.15 an hour. So imagine that. And I had, my rent at the time was like $409. And so, put those together. I'm really not making a lot. And yeah. So when he came along, I thought he was a wonderful person. Outside of the drama and everything that he was going through, but the money, it was convenient. It was absolutely convenient for me because I didn't have to worry about anything. I always had groceries in my house. I always had a ride somewhere, and the cars and all of the glitz and the glam that come with the territory. But it's so much drama and so many headaches and sleepless nights that it's just not worth it. But I was young, naive. I could have gotten in trouble, but thank God for grace and mercy, and covering a fool. I could have been in some serious trouble, but it just wasn't my norm. It was not my norm, and dating a bad boy gave me a different perspective on life and what I didn't want. Because, of course, in the movies, like my favorite movie was Belly. I was a DMX fanatic. I liked Nas, and I liked the movie Belly. And I was more of like DMX was too much for me, so I liked Nas a little bit more in the storyline because he was really chill about it. But on the outside looking in, they make that world so glamorous or whatever. So, you know, being young and naive, you kind of jump into it and be like, I just want to see what it's like. And while the money and the cars and all this other stuff is coming with it, it's day to day, minute by minute, second by second, putting your life on the line. And it was just a dumb decision that I made. And of course, I do know better. And of course, I was raised 100% better. But it was just a choice that I made in my adulthood that I learned from and I was able to grow from. So that's my take on the bad boy phase. So I only had 2 bad boys. So but it was just a phase that I went through. So you live and you learn. What can I say? Question number 2 says, what made you walk away from D? For those of you who haven't read the book Wisdom by 30, which is still available at Amazon.com, and it is on Prime, so you can get it in 2 days. But D is the guy that I talk about in chapter 3. And so he is my taste of what I'm supposed to be treated, well, how I'm supposed to be treated, and how a woman is valued, and the finer things in life without the drama and the headache. D was my refreshment, basically. He treated me with such sincerity, such love, such passion, and didn't want anything from me. He didn't want anything from me sexually. He didn't want anything from me at all. He just wanted to be in my presence. And so, of course, coming from D and I didn't date, but coming from the bad boy in chapter 2 to D in chapter 3 was like a complete turnaround. But it was a peace of mind, though, because he kind of helped me understand that, okay, you have a value and you have a worth. And so it's up to you to find that out. Even though D had an inkling and an understanding of what my worth was, I still personally, because I was still young, I was 19, 20, going 21-ish. He did so many great things for me. And we just had a great friendship. Like, we're still friends to this day. But what made me walk away from him was that I had to be honest with myself. It was hard. Oh my God, it was hard to walk away from him because he was the ideal prayer of what I wanted in a mate and in a spouse and a friend. And so when he presented himself to me and all of these things, I could have been selfish and taken advantage of his sincerity, but I didn't. I couldn't do that to him. It was not fair to take advantage of him. I couldn't sleep doing it. My conscience, like, I've always had a conscience, but the more that I've built my relationship with God, like, conviction is so real on me. Like, if I'm getting ready to spew something out of my mouth, I'm already convicted before I can even finish the sentence. And so then, I was just starting to build a personal walk with God very slowly, but even back then I couldn't even begin to fathom doing something like that to him. I had to be honest with myself. He wanted marriage. He was ready for a wife. He was ready for a family. I absolutely was not ready. I didn't even know if I wanted children at that time. And so he already knew what he wanted, and I had an idea of what I wanted, but I was not ready at all. I was just not ready, and I couldn't see myself hurting him. If I would have accepted his proposal and married D, I would have tore his life apart. I would have flipped his life upside down, because he would have been giving all of him, and I would have been like, I'm just here for the moment. I'm just here for what you're doing for me. And he's an absolutely sweet person. He's a loving person. He always has been and always will be. But I could not take advantage of him at all. Like that. I'm glad I had common sense enough to know that I just could not do that. I would have messed him up. Definitely messed him up. And now he's been married for the last couple of years. He has beautiful twins and a beautiful son, older son, and he's flourishing. Everything that he touches, he's flourishing. If I would have married him at that time, I don't know where he would be. He'd probably be devastated somewhere trying to pick up the pieces or whatever. And so I just didn't want to be responsible for his heartbreak. I know he was hurt at the time when I, declined, because he proposed 3 times, and I was just like, nope, can't do it. And so I just couldn't take advantage of him. And I know there's people out there that are opportunists that thrive off of the moment and what they can get right now, but that wouldn't have been fair to him. And I definitely would have messed up his whole entire world. Like, he could have been bitter, not even be married at this point, missed out on his wife, missed out on opportunities. Because when you get into a relationship and it don't turn out the way that you expected it to, everybody copes different with a breakup. And so I just didn't want to see what that would have been like for him. I love your friendship. I just can't do it. So I bowed out gracefully. And I thank God to this day that he taught me enough about me and my work to be able to move forward. But he also has always been a friend throughout the craziness and everything that I've been through. So, and I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's probably like, I'm glad you said no. Because, he has a wonderful life. He really does. He has a wonderful life and so many blessings upon him that is just amazing. And it's amazing to be on the outside watching. So that's what made me walk away from D. I had sense enough to know that I was going to break his heart and be detrimental to him. And I could not do that because of my, because of me not being ready for everything that he wanted. So I bowed out gracefully. So I'm grateful that it turned out the way that it did. So that's why I walked away from D. And once again, that is chapter 3. D is the gentleman that I talk about in Wisdom by 30. Once again, it's available on Amazon.com. So get into that if you don't already have the book. But we're down to our third question. Just that fast. So this question says, out of all the guys that you dated, how did you know that your husband was the one? So, I'm going to try to keep my response to a minimum. So, okay, let's start here. After my divorce / annulment, whatever, at 25, I really started self-evaluating on me, because while my ex-husband did whatever he did, I did have to take responsibility for what I did as well. So I started praying more and then went into celibacy and all of this great stuff. And so what I did was I created what I call an alabaster box. My alabaster box was created in December of 2010, if I'm not mistaken. It's under my bed. I still have it to this day. And I open it and go back to it every now and then just to see how far I've come. But December 2010 going into 2011, I created the alabaster box. I told my friends about it and asked them to join in. I think some of them did it and some didn't. But overall, in this box, all I did was take a shoebox and I wrote down, I cut out pictures from magazines. So I have a picture of the Cosbys, and I have a scripture for family. Then I cut out a group of ladies who look like friends, just having fun. I have scriptures for friendship and for my friends at the time that I did not absolutely want to lose. I think two of the friends on that list are not in the box, but are not in my life right now, but everybody else is. And so I just simply took that and just started cutting out pictures and writing the scriptures that went to it and what I wanted to see and all the other things or whatever. The only things that has not happened that I put into this box back in 2010 was buying a house. I haven't bought a house yet. And then also it's the house, and I want to say opening an office for my business. And then the other thing is my flight to LA and Italy. Oh, Italy. Yeah, LA and Italy. Those are my two dream trips. I know LA sounds really like cliche, but that's my trip. But and Italy, of course, yes, I am planning to go to Italy. And when I go, I'm going for 2 months. I'm just going out the country to Italy, because that's not the type of trip you just take for the weekend or for a week. You got to be gone for a good little minute. So I excuse me. So I in that box, I put what I wanted in a husband. In that box, I put what I wanted in a family, the relationships, the friendships, loyalty, all of that great stuff inside of that box. So when 2012 came, and of course, this is in the book as well. I'm talking about my husband. He's the last chapter. We have been friends since 2010. We met July 2010 at a friend's house party, and it was 4th of July. And so, because we had mutual friends, when I was out with my friends, he was out with his friends, we always ended up together somewhere hanging out. And so it's like a big brother, big sister type ordeal. And so it would be moments where I would find myself caught in a corner with my husband, just laughing, joking, talking about life and dating and just kind of like venting or whatever. And he was doing the same. And so he was my buddy partner. When we all was out, okay, I'm linked up with Phil. So in him, I started seeing certain traits of the type of husband that I had wrote down. And so it was really weird. And I was like, but Phil, not really my type. I haven't dated someone like him. The closest person to him would have been D, but I didn't date D. We were just friends. So it was just really weird. But we just kept our friendship going and just kept keeping in touch, texting each other. And so one night we went out and we were talking about relationships, and he was venting. And so he was like, I'm tired of dating. I'm tired of going through the motions. I want my wife. I don't want to deal with no more of these females in Atlanta. And so and he was like, they make dating so hard, man. And he was like, everybody is about playing games and all this other stuff. And of course, I'm co-signing because I'm like, yeah, it's frustrating, stuff like that. And so he was like, I just, I'm ready to settle down. And so he has a great background so far as family and marriage. My in-laws have been married over 40 years. How awesome is that? They've been knowing each other since elementary school, middle school maybe, and they've been together over 40 years, and they still love each other like they met yesterday, and I freaking love it. And so my husband comes from that background, so he's seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and he knows what a solid marriage is, because my in-laws have a super solid marriage. So long story